Welcome to the Arun Church podcast, where our mission is bringing life to everyone, everywhere, every day. Each podcast episode features the latest talk from our church, which are released weekly. We're passionate about Jesus, love to worship together, and are committed to changing our community for the better. Connect with us at arunchurch.com.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. Everyone a bit asleep today? No, a bit quiet? Okay. What I would like you to do is tell the person next to you of a time when you were an absolute coward. When was the last time you were an absolute coward? It's a good thing to think about. I can think about lots of times that I was a bit scared. Lots of times that I was a bit fearful. But there was this one time when me and Sam were on holiday, and we were in Jamaica. We don't go on holiday very often. This was like 15 years ago. And we were at this famous cafe called Rick's Cafe, and Rick's Cafe is on top of a cliff. And the cliff is on this beautiful lagoon, and this sea is crystal clear. And we went on a boat trip to this place because you can like jump off this cliff into the sea, and it is the most beautiful, picturesque thing. So me and Sam climbed to the top of the cliff, and I got to the edge, and my legs just wouldn't move. Like I couldn't do it. And it's high. It's like 35 foot or something like that. It's really high. And there's a queue of people behind me. And Sam's like, don't think about it. Just go. And I was like, nothing in me is going. And so then I had to do like the walk of shame back past it. Excuse me. Sorry. Can I just get through? And I was like, I'll go to the middle one. Start smaller. So I got to the 20-foot one, and I was like, nope. Absolutely not. So I went down to the 10-foot one, and I was just like, I just can't. So I went back to the steps where you climb out and just plopped into that bit. And I was like, oh, this is like a famous cafe. Sam obviously just jumped off the top one, but I felt like such a coward. The walk of shame down the steps, like, sorry guys, no, I just can't. My legs just won't do it. All the way to the bottom. So today we're finishing our series on God Makes a Way. And if we're thinking about being cowardly and God making a way, or if you read the newsletter, who are we talking about? Does anybody know? Gideon, that's right. So we're reading from Gideon from Judges. So if you're quite new to reading the Bible, Judges is like in the first part of the Bible. So we've got Genesis. In Genesis is where God created the world and created mankind. And then we've got Exodus, and that's God's chosen people, the Israelites, and how they exited out of Egypt. And then we have Leviticus, and that is where God is giving the people all the rules that they need to live by. And then we have Numbers, and Numbers is where God has led them out of slavery, but they're wandering around the desert blind for 40 years. And then we get to Deuteronomy, and Deuteronomy is where God gives Moses the 10 commandments, so reminding the people how to live, how God wants them to live. And then we get to Joshua, and Joshua is where God leads the people, with Joshua leading the front into the promised land. And then we land in Judges, and that's where we're teaching from today. So that has been the story of the Israelites so far. Joshua has led them into the promised land. They're in the promised land. So Judges should be an amazing read. But it's not. Judges is a bit annoying. Judges is not, for me, not a good book to read. It is horrible. It is frustrating. They keep making the same mistakes again and again, but worse. Judges, they haven't got kings that lead the Israelites yet. They have these judges, and the judges are not judges like what we have nowadays. Judges are more like the tribal leaders, more like army commanders or political leaders. So that are who the judges are. And throughout the story of Judges, the Israelites are in the promised land, but they haven't pushed out the Canaanites who are there. They've just moved in alongside them. And slowly, slowly, they're moving away from what God has asked them to do and more towards what the Canaanites are doing, to the point where you can't really tell who the Israelites and who the Canaanites are, because they're doing evil things. They're doing things both. And I'm talking really bad things. I'm not talking about singing a little. They're like doing child sacrifices and horrible things in Judges. So let's read. I think on my first slide, actually, I've got a picture of this. So this is basically what happens in Judges. The Israelites sin, and then they're oppressed by their enemy, and then they repent to God, and then a new judge rises up and kind of leads them through to their deliverance with God, and then they live in a time of peace, but then they go back into sin again. And this is the whole of the story of Judges. It's just a downward spiral, getting worse and worse. So we're going to read from Judges 6, verse 11 to 12. Okay, so it says, the angel of the Lord came and sat under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in the winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "Pardon me, my lord?" Gideon replied. "But if the Lord is with us, then why has all of this happened to us? Where are all the wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of the Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength that you have and save Israel out of the Midian's hands. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my lord?" Gideon replied. "But how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest clan in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." Gideon replied, "If now I have favor in the eyes, give me a sign that is really you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you." And the Lord said, "I will wait until you return." So what's happening here? It says that Gideon is threshing wheat in the winepress. Now, what is a winepress used for? Wine. It is absolutely not used for threshing wheat. In fact, when you thresh wheat, you have the wheat, and what you do is, as you're threshing it, the chaff, the light bit around the edge comes off, and you're left with the grain. So you need to do it in a wide open space. Ideally, you do it on top of a hill, because then you've got more wind to blow it away. That's how they do their job. They thresh, and it separates, and the heavy seed, the heavy grain goes to the floor, and the shaft goes away in the wind. Well, he's doing it in a wine press. That's not what wine presses are for. And actually, that makes it a lot harder, because there's no wind down there to blow it away. So why is he down in the wine press? Because the Midianites have destroyed the land. The Midianites have taken everything from them. In fact, when they see them threshing, they go and attack. They go and attack because they want the grain. They are taking everything from the Israelites. They are petrified of them. They are cowering and fearing for their lives. So here we have a man hiding in a hole, cowering, hiding from his enemy. And what does God say? "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." It's a bit funny. Do you find that a bit funny? Isn't God hilarious sometimes? You see this man hiding, physically afraid of his enemy, and he calls him, "You mighty warrior." God sees something that Gideon is clearly not displaying for anybody else to see. Gideon does not believe that for himself. Gideon does not know that about himself. But God says, "You, cowering in that hole down there, you're a mighty warrior." "Huh? Excuse me, my lord?" He's like, "Me? Yes, you, mighty warrior, I will be with you." "Me?" And God says time and time again, "I am with you, I am with you, I am with you." And Gideon's fear is not, unwarranted. Gideon's fear, like they would come and attack. They would come. And in fact, after this encounter with God, he goes and he knocks down the altar to Baal, one of the gods that they worship. He knocks it down. He destroys it. But he does it in the dead of night because he's a bit scared. But he does it. He does it he creates an altar to God. He burns his sacrifice, but he knocks down the altar to Baal. And the next day, they all want to kill him. They all want to kill him. So him cowering in a hole, him doing these acts in the dead of night, the fear is real. I feel like the fear is justified. The fear is there. But he still steps into what God is calling him to do. See, his fear is telling him to hide. His fear is telling him he is not safe. But his faith is telling him, move anywhere. You're fearful, that's fine. But your faith is telling you to move anywhere. In the next part of the story, God calls Gideon to lead a mighty army and go and take out their enemy, the Amalekites. And Gideon gathers 32,000 people. And I thought, that's massive. That's a lot of people. Their army is 150,000 people. So I would still be scared doing it anyway. But I think that's a pretty good step in faith. 32. And God says, no. Too many people, too many. Because you'll win and you'll believe it's in your strength. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to take down the numbers. And there's lots of different things that they do. He says, everybody that's scared, send them home. The majority went. Everybody, take them down to the water. Everybody that drinks like this, send them home. Only take the ones that lap, like a dog. Weird. So he's left with 300. From 32,000 men in an army to 300. And do you know what God says to him? God meets him where he's at and he says, Gideon, if you're scared, go down quietly to the army camp and just listen to what they're saying. And God gives him a way that even though his fear is telling him to hide, God gives him a way to help his faith rise so he can move. And he goes down and he hears what the army is saying, and the army is scared. The army have had a dream and that Gideon is going to come and take them out. And guess what happens? That is exactly what happens. Gideon takes his men and all they do is just smash some pots. They literally don't kill anyone, but all the people are so scared of him, they just end up killing each other. So his army didn't even have to do anything, because when fear says hide, faith says move anyway, and God's strength is perfect in our weakness. You see, at the beginning of the story, when God met Gideon in the wine press, Gideon was at a very baby stage of his faith. Gideon was very, very young. He didn't even really believe. He was doubting God's ability. His ancestors told us these amazing stories, but that wasn't the God he knew. That wasn't the God he believed in. That wasn't the God that he saw in his life. So therefore, who is God to me? He was at a baby stage of his faith. And what did God do to him? He came alongside him. He was so kind. He was so gentle. He was so repetitive. And I read it thinking, this sounds very much like my relationship with my toddler. I have to be endlessly kind, endlessly patient, endlessly encouraging, repeating myself again and again and again, because that's what he needs. He's a baby. Yesterday, my 2-year-old, is very good at taking his clothes off. Boy, does he love to take his clothes off. In fact, if you're around my house, you'll probably see he doesn't have clothes on because he loves taking clothes off. But yesterday, for the first time, he took his clothes off and then he put them all back on himself. And I said, wow, you're such a big boy. How clever. Go and show Daddy. And he was straight over there, took all his clothes off, put all his clothes back on. And Daddy said, wow, you're such a big boy. You're so clever. Now, if I say that to my 8-year-old every time he put his clothes on, wow, you're such a big boy. You're so clever. That would be terrible parenting. Because my 8-year-old is far more capable than that. How patronizing, how unneeded, how much would I be keeping him like a baby if I talked to him like that? In fact, when he gets his clothes on, I don't even praise that. Because of course he can get his clothes on. When he does something that's really stepping out of his comfort zone, something really stretching him, I say, wow, son, I'm so proud of you. You really tried hard there and you did that. Well done. Because that's how you parent a child. And I'm sure when I come to parent a teenager, and then when I come to be adult to adult, it'll be the next stage and the next stage. But the whole point is you've got to be moving and developing. You see, when God was speaking to Gideon in the wine press, you mighty warrior, you can do it. I'm with you. I'm for you. Well done. But if God done that again later, he would just be keeping him as a baby. You see, God is growing and stretching us. So when Gideon is leading the army, God is saying to him, okay, next challenge, Gideon. We're going to take it further, Gideon. You don't need as many people as this. You can go less and less and less. And then when Gideon's having a wobble, he's right there and he's like, look, if you need some encouragement, go and listen to what they're saying. I'm still with you. They're scared. They're scared, Gideon. Come and have a look and let me just build that faith again. Remember that I am with you and I'm for you. Joseph Gisby was saying to us last week after he shared that he'd forgotten to say something in his talk last week, and he was saying that how when the Israelites were leaving Egypt and they came to the sea, and the sea was there, and they called out to God, what did God do? God made what was wet dry. God took the water away and made a path for them to walk through. God moved the waters because what they didn't need water, what they needed was dry land. But later, when the Israelites are walking round and round and round a dry desert place, what did they need? Water. So God needed to make what was dry then wet. You see, often we don't need God to do the same thing. God needs to do a different thing in our life at a different time. We don't need God to do exactly the same thing because that's not what they needed. They didn't need more dry ground, they needed water. And how much is that like us? Like when I'm praying for something, when I'm wanting God to do something, I'm like, God, remember before when you provided for me like that? Do that again, God. God, please, what I need is for you to provide this for me. Please, God, just do that again. But God's not going to do that again because I need a different thing. I'm not a baby anymore. I don't need that same thing. What I need is for God to do a new thing in me. And that might look totally different to what has gone before. That might look totally different to what God has done before. So thinking about us, God called Gideon through. God didn't use Gideon despite his weakness. Gideon was weak, he was fearful, he was a coward. God didn't say, forget that, Gideon, I'm going to use you. God said, you're a coward and you're cowering and you're scared. And because of that, I'm going to work through you. Because of that, I'm going to use you because I can work through your weakness. Through your weakness, you can grow. Through your weakness, your strength can be stretched. Through your weakness, you can develop. So what is our weakness? Because often we put our weakness to the back. Often we put our weakness behind us. We don't present our weakness. Why present our weakness when my strength is this? But God is saying, through your weakness, he will work. So where are you weak? Where's your weakness? Are you fearful? Are you like wrapped in fear for the future, for your health, for a relationship, for your family? Are you wrapped in fear for your finances or for dreams that haven't yet come to fruition? What is your weakness? Is it your heart? Are you hard-hearted? Is there just unforgiveness that you absolutely cannot let go of? Is there addictions? Is there terrible things in your life that are hidden? Is there bad behaviors that you are keeping covered up? And that could be anything from like sex, drugs and gambling, but also bad behaviors in how you're speaking to your partner, how you're speaking to your children, how you are speaking to your colleagues, how you act, how you forgive, how you go about. Where are you weak? I might not know, we might not know, but God knows. And God says, it's not too much for me. It's not too much for me. Bring it to me. And I will work through your weakness. And boy, the other side, you in the hall down there, you are going to lead a nation. You're going to lead an army. You're going to defeat an army so much bigger than you. You can't even imagine it. You can't even dream it. You don't even want it at this point. But we are going to go there and we're going to do it together, son. We're going to do it together. And I am never going to leave your side. You can stay cowering in your hole. God didn't make Gideon get out the hole. God gave him a choice. And Gideon decided to step out. Gideon decided to start the back and forth dialogue with God. With his doubts, with his fears, with his worries. But Gideon started that. He didn't stay in his hole. I just would like to invite the band back up, but just want you to just be thinking about that. If you're sat here thinking, I don't think I've got any weaknesses, I dare you to ask God. I dare you to ask God to just open your eyes to what is the thing that he's wanting to do in you, to move in you, to help you, and to use through you. And I'd just like us to just be courageous. Let's be courageous. Let's step out of our holes. I would like us to be honest with God. So maybe as the music plays, we'll just take a few minutes by ourselves, just being honest with God, asking God to open our eyes to what he's wanting to work in us. Honest with ourselves, honest with God. And then if you're feeling really, really brave, I would really like you to share that with somebody. And that's whoever you're comfortable with, whether that's the person next to you that you want to just kind of share and be accountable. Because we were saying this is the last Sunday that we're doing where God made a way. Guys, let's make the most of it. Before we step into Christmas and before we're stepping into preparing our hearts for God coming to earth, for Jesus being born, let's really just sit and be like, God, where do you want to make a way with me? Where do you want me to be vulnerable? Because that is always where it starts, being vulnerable and being open. And God will never make you do something that you are not ready for, not willing to go there. But I'm just saying, church, let's be brave. Let's get out of our hole. Let's be open. Let's be vulnerable. Let's start with our vulnerability. God, I thank you that you know us more than anybody. God, I thank you that you are gentle and that you are kind to us. God, I thank you that you meet us where we are at and you take us on a journey. God, help us stop being so fixated on the past, so fixated on what you've done before, and let us be present in what you're doing now. God, I ask, where's my weakness? Where am I being cowardly? Where's my fear and what's it rooted in? God, I ask that you increase our faith, and God, through my weakness, through our weakness, thank you that you have the perfect strength. Gemma, in your weakness, God's strength is coming. In your weakness, step out because he sees you. Pat, I was praying for you this morning. In your weakness, when you are stepping into territory where you have not been before, God's strength will be made perfect. Leah, in your weakness, God's strength is perfect. That is all you need. Get out of that hole and step into his strength. Avril, in your weakness, God's strength is perfect. Step into that strength. Just this morning in worship, God just kept, I don't mean to pick on people, but they were the people that I just kept turning, and God was saying, them. And it's all of you. It's all of us. It's all of us. Be brave. Let's step out. Let's take some time now to share with the person next to us. Come forward for prayer. Come and get on your knees. Get on your face. Whatever you need to do, that is a symbol of you getting out of that hole where your fear does not need to control you. Your fear says stay, but your faith says move. Your fear might be telling you no, but God is saying yes. You might just see a coward, but God sees a warrior. Church, get up and move. God is with you. God is with us. God wants us to be brave, to be bold, even when we're stood on that cliff edge. And I'm saying, God, my legs are not moving. My legs are not letting me jump. God is saying, child, I've got you. I've got you. Come, I will be with you. I am with you.